Breaking back to school news. Today, Donald Trump tacoed in his attempt to take money from American school kids. After weeks of public pressure and a federal lawsuit, the Trump administration will now release more than $5 billion in public school funding that it's illegally been withholding since June. The Washington Post reports, quote, states expect the funding to be released July 1st. Instead, the Education Department notified states June 30th it was investigating whether any of the grant money had in the past been used for a, quote, radical left-wing agenda, end quote. The freeze was being challenged in court by the D.C. and Democratic state attorneys general to release the funds, which support 6 grant programs related to English language learner programs, teacher training, support for children of migrant workers, and academic enrichment activities. For some, the effects of the lost funds would have been severe, particularly in areas with many students who are learning English. In Marshalltown, Iowa, where a pork plant draws migrant agricultural workers and immigrants from dozens of countries, the school district was facing a devastating blow. The impact on parents and families would have been devastating as well. The Associated Press reports the money being released Friday pays for free programming before and after school and during the summer. The programs provide child care so low-income parents can work. And they give options to families who live in rural areas with few other child care providers. Beyond just child care, kids receive reading and math help at the programs, along with enrichment in sciences and the arts. Without the money, school districts and nonprofits such as the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club of America have said they would have to close or scale back educational offerings this fall. I just want to be clear. These are federally appropriated funds, already voted on and approved by Congress and passed into law. This is not discretionary money. They should never have been withheld in the first place. Arizona Democratic Congressman Greg Stanton had this to say about his state finally receiving its funding. After our pressure campaign, Trump blinked and finally released more than $100 million in funding that his administration was withholding from Arizona classrooms. Not a moment too soon, as kids across the state head back to school. This is a big win, but it never should have been an issue in the first place. Trump continues to play games with our kids' futures, and we're not going to let it stand. Joining us now is the Colorado Attorney General, Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser. He joined the lawsuit against the Trump administration's Department of Education. He's also running to be Colorado's next governor. Attorney General, good to see you again. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Always good to be with you, Allie. You did a great job explaining what's going on. It's hard to believe we're dealing with this again.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you to lean into it even more in terms of the explanation, because again, I want to be clear. This is law. This was voted on by Congress. It was passed. It was money. It's the same as withholding money from Ukraine that was authorized by Congress. But the illegality aside, did you get what you needed out of the lawsuit, or is there still more? Is the lawsuit still alive, and is there still more that the federal government should be doing?
Until the money that is guaranteed by law is in the hands of the schools, we're not slowing down. This is a overdue statement that the money's going out. But again, the money has not been received. This administration has shown they're not trustworthy, they are reckless, and they are lawless. What you said is exactly correct. This is not like a remotely close call or a difference of opinion. This is a mandate.
Yep.
Congress spends money. Congress has power of the purse. The president, by the constitutional requirement, faithfully executes the laws. We shouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
This money already should be in the hands of the Boys and Girls Clubs in Pueblo, Colorado, schools across Colorado. Instead, they're scrambling right now, not knowing if the money is there. Until they get the money, we're not letting up.
Their excuse about it being radical left-wing programs, that's a matter for Congress. If Congress wants to have a proper regular order and discuss why they fund certain things and why they don't fund. I mean, this is the same Doge argument, right? If you guys want to have this discussion, have it. Part of the problem here is that they targeted programs, that grants that support English language learners, children of migrant workers, teacher training, after-school enrichment. It ended up disproportionately targeting particular types of districts.
For Colorado, let me go back to this example. Like you mentioned, Boys and Girls Clubs in Pueblo, Colorado. It is a community that has large number of Latinos. It is a community that is dependent on this. And to withhold the money means you're hurting kids. You're hurting families. These are people who depend on these programs. These are lives that are at stake. other examples, you mentioned academic enrichment. That means using technology in schools to help people learn. A lot of schools are looking at artificial intelligence. There's a great company in Colorado called Magic School developing programs that help teachers teach. That sort of adoption of new technology is funded by these grants. And if you don't get the money in time, you can't make these investments in time. This is reckless. Students are hurting still with lower learning loss from the pandemic. We should be putting more money in public education, not making these sorts of
The
cuts.
return on that is fantastic. This business, by the way, I just want to ask you one quick question, because the argument about radical left-wing agenda, you guys are attorneys general. Somebody has to prove that, right? Like, nobody, there was no evidence, there was nothing to do with radical left-wing agenda that was brought forward.
This is what's so unbelievable about the moment we're in. In the court of law, you can't just make unhinged statements and use it as a justification. And so what probably happened here is the lawyers looked at this case and they said, we can't justify this. We have no legs to stand on. You're exactly right. There's no evidentiary basis to say this is some radical left-wing agenda. This is about learning. It's about learning English. It's about learning American history. It's about helping people develop social skills. This is important work. They're just making up stuff because, I don't know, they think that education doesn't matter. It is mind-numbing, both as a policy matter, as a moral matter, and as a legal matter. How did we get here?
Attorney General Phil Weiser of Colorado, good to see you again. Thank you for being with us tonight. We'll stay on top of the story with you.